Hello and welcome to Greenways across America. I'm your host, Steve Mitchell, coming to you today from the Flower Bridge in Simsbury, Connecticut. If you're watching us on YouTube, you'll see the new executive director for the East Coast Greenway, Dennis Marcato Soriano, and you'll also see the Jersey Girls, a group of women that came up here to Simsbury a couple weeks ago, and their specific purpose every year is to come up for biking, and this year they chose Simsbury, Connecticut because of our many bike trails around this area. If you're watching the half-hour version on television, you'll also see some East Coast Greenway pictures from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, and Portland, Maine. And sit back, enjoy.
My name is Dennis Marcato Soriano, and I'm honored to be the next executive director of the East Coast Greenway Alliance. We're going to build a trail all the way from Key West, Florida, up to the Maine border of Canada, and we need your help to make it happen. I grew up in rural North Carolina, close to the East Coast Greenway, traveling through central North Carolina, and I went to school there, born and raised, moved up to Princeton, New Jersey for a couple years in a master's program, also along the East Coast Greenway, and then now I'm living in New York City, another great part of the East Coast Greenway. Today, I'm in Simsbury, Connecticut. As you see in one of the most beautiful parts of our East Coast Greenway, the Flower Bridge of Simsbury. We are here over the Farmington River, and it's my pleasure to be in this community, and I couldn't have come here without the East Coast Greenway, which we took all the way from Yale in New Haven, Connecticut, and biked here, a lovely 43-mile trip with tourists from New Jersey. That's exactly what we want to do with this East Coast Greenway. We want to connect the communities up and down the East Coast and make them available to tourists. Make them available to the local people in their community.
Okay, I'm going to have you guys go by me. This is called shoot and pray. Go ahead, go by me. Keep going.
Right.
Tell everybody behind you to go by me. Okay. Keep going.
If you could come on by us.
Come on by.
We'll go pretty slow here.
Come on by, come on by. Come on by. Come on, ladies.
We're going.
Come on, girls. Keep coming. Keep her coming.
All right.
Keep her coming. How is it, Dennis?
Oh, it's great.
How is it, huh?
East Coast Greenway.
East Coast Greenway, here we go.
A little bit.
Connecticut is a perfect location for a greenway. There's just no doubt about it. And the Merritt Parkway is a road system that should be paralleled with a greenway. The Merritt Parkway is one of the oldest highways in the country, one of the most beautiful highways in the country, and has an easement area sufficient to entertain a greenway. And it's like a no-brainer. You have to wonder what's going on in the boxes that are occupied by the governor or her advisory or the Department of Transportation. We need to complete this trail. You know, you need to be able to go from Maine to Florida, and Connecticut shouldn't be the last place that you can't do it.
What we're establishing with the East Coast Greenway is a key corridor that goes through all of these communities. It will provide that spine, which then will have other routes connecting great landmarks in every community and establish a great biking culture that we can establish, again, throughout the East Coast.
Be part of this exciting project. Go to greenway.org for their future and all of our futures, for America's future. The East Coast Greenway needs to get finished. We need your help. Please go to greenway.org.
Well, you know, the East Coast Greenway would be a great project to spend some amount of stimulus dollars on, and I support the President and the administration to no end, but they made a huge mistake, and they sent the vast majority of that money to state governments, and state governments don't lead in innovation. Local communities do, individuals do, not-for-profits do. State governments are these huge bureaucracies that are you know, much akin to a ship in the middle of the ocean. They just take a long time to turn. I wish more money had come to local communities and allowed us to innovate appropriately. I think if they did, Greenway-type projects would be pushed to the front. Now they're
Slow-mo drive-by, there we go. So slow-mo, keep going, drive-by.
Tell us how delicious that lunch was.
Okay,
Rizzo's
Yeah.
yummy.
Over halfway there. Yeah.
One of those. There we go.
I encourage every community up and down the East Coast to become a bicycle-friendly community. That's something that the League of American Bicyclists has set up to help encourage great infrastructure for bicycling. Again, connecting safe routes to school, but also safe routes to everywhere you need to go in your town.
We're gonna catch up to you girls! Those two men on that tandem are gonna catch up to you women!
I'd like to make a special thanks to Bruce Donald and the Farmington Valley Trails Council, who has helped us establish an excellent trail right here.
Okay, ladies.
See ya.
All right. All right, good job, good job. You're almost home. Good job, yes. The final 8 miles. The final 8 miles. They're doing it. The final 8. Be home by 5:30. Shower time. Bars that way. The bar is that way. The bar is that way. All right. All right, the bar is that way. Last 8. Feeling great. Cool. That just took out a 4-lane highway. This used to be part of an industry called Ensign Bickford. Ensign Bickford used to make, hey, you're great. What Ensign Bickford used to make was explosives. This is cool. Really cool. Hey, Gil. This in late September, right here, this meadow just gets, it's like a Crayola crayon box.
I need your help to make this 3,000-mile route complete. By 2025, we want to connect the communities all the way from Key West, Florida, up to Calais, Maine, and the border of Canada. But it can only happen if not only our current 5,000 members do great work and provide on the local level everything that we need to do in engaging the town planners and the town council members, the mayors, the state representatives, all the way from Florida up to Maine. I need the senators of Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina to be involved and to be on board. I need the Congress members from Virginia and Maryland to be involved to make this a reality. I need Vice President Biden from Delaware to hear from his Delaware constituents, and of course the constituents up and down the coast, that we want an East Coast Greenway, and we want it soon.
I love the smell of jet fuel in the morning. Here we are, our nation's capital at Reagan National Airport, and we're along the Greenway that actually goes right by the airport. And what a great system they have here in Washington, D.C. I was on a run earlier this morning, and I just noticed so many people. The major use of this trail system, the Mount Vernon Trail, is for commuters going in and out of Washington, D.C. On their bicycles.
My name is Dan McCready. This is my dog Sadie, or I'm her person. And Sadie and I are about to begin an 850-mile bike trip from Annapolis, Maryland to Portland, Maine. This is mile marker 1 of the East Coast Greenway, at least the portion that goes from Annapolis to Baltimore. I will be starting about 6 miles from here and will make my way to the East Coast Greenway and then continue up the East Coast Greenway the entire way till I get to Portland, Maine. This trail serves the surrounding area here very well, whether it's Annapolis, Maryland, Arnold, Maryland, Severna Park. This trail is used to transport people who are working in the area. It's used for exercise, community events. This trail is very used, very popular. It links some of the few cities around this area and links some of the shopping that we have in this area. This bike is made by Sun Bicycles. It's called the Sun EZ Sport. The letter E, the letter Z, Sport. It was donated by Sun Bicycles for this charity event to support the East Coast Greenway. Now Sadie is trained to jog on my left side and walk on my left side. So one of the things we had to work on is when I'm on a bike, Sadie must stay on my right side. She does have a leash, retractable leash here, and that's for her security as well as mine. Sadie, come on. It's only 10 feet long, so this is as far as she can go. I'm always at a dead stop when she jumps out or jumps in the trailer.
Welcome back, and I am here with Bruce Donald, president of the Farming Valley Trails Council, and it is my honor to have you back here, and you have done a phenomenal job. You and your organization has grown. You've done a great job getting the Rails to Trails established here in the Farming Valley, and congratulations on some of the successes you've had in the past couple of years. And please feel free to go over what has happened last year in 2008.
I'd like to. First of all, thank you for having me again. I feel like I'm, like the
regular
perennial guest now. But I'm glad to be here, and I appreciate it. It's nice to be able to speak out and have people listen to us, you know, on the television.
Yeah.
2008 was a banner year. You know, we went through a period in the 90s in particular and early in the 2000s where we would be twiddling our thumbs for years waiting for something to happen. And lo and behold, we have coming up on 6 miles of trail that was paved in 2008. Yeah. Mostly in East Granby, about 1.1 miles of it is in Granby, right next to Route 10. And it's the northernmost portion, or encapsulates most of the northernmost portion of the Farmington Canal Heritage Trail, which, as you know, is part of the East Coast Greenway. Yep. And runs from New Haven, Connecticut to Northampton, Massachusetts. Right. So its total length is 84 miles. Our piece, the Farmington Valley Trails Council, yep, works on is from essentially the Plainville-Farmington line, yep, up to the Connecticut-Massachusetts state border in Suffield.
How would you suggest that people actually do something?
The trail system has become a success. So it's a known quantity. Right. It's something that it's legislators now know they're not pouring money in a black hole. Right. So that's, I think, point number one in this, yep, equation. Right. Now, the second point, to my way of thinking, is that given the first point, it's now politically viable to go and try to find money for your town, right, to complete these projects. Which, by the way, you know, to use the governor's term, are all shovel-ready, right, because they've been designed 10 years ago. Right. You know, it's taken that long to find the funding.
Right, and you're leading me up, and this is appropriate for our region, is to, you know, last year, I believe in June, the Board of Selectmen approved going the rails to trails, the East Coast Greenway, yes, technically, from Reno's Route 350 and Route 10 through Terriffill into Bloomfield. And Bloomfield is the engineer study. I pretty sure was done a year and a half ago.
They have a study. It's completed, yes.
And so where is that? Have you heard anything about that project?
Yep. We have a few meetings in the fall with Bloomfield and Hartford. Yep. And there is now a burgeoning Bloomfield, and unfortunately I don't know what their correct name is. Okay. But there is a citizens organization in Bloomfield, yes, yeah, that is starting up to do essentially what we have done, right, in the Farmington Valley, yep, to work on that project. Okay. I'm in the process of getting in touch with Mary Glassman and the people in Simsbury, yep, to kind of reconvene all these people. Okay. Which we're going to do in this first quarter of 2009. And try to get some sort of a feeling together about how, number one, how we want to push forward as a group, which I think is more important in terms of getting funding at the state level. Yep. You have obviously more population, and this goes back to what I was talking about. You have more representatives and senators. In other words, you've got more political clout trying to go for this piece of money to build this project.
And how will Sandy Fry and Krog play into those? I mean, because we're Capital Region Council of Government, 17 towns, I, yep, believe is what it is. Yep. And isn't there a Hartford pedestrian and walkability plan that she has put forth? Okay.
Yeah, there is. That was done in conjunction. In fact, we had we worked on that too. Yeah. I was on that committee. Yeah. That was finished this last year. Okay. And in fact,
if somebody wants to see that, where they have a website, correct? Do you know what their website is?
It's on Krog's website. In fact, if you just Google CRCOG, right? In fact, Dash Connecticut, I think might be what it is. Okay.
This is why it is so important. What you're just saying. This is why it is so important for you out there. One thing that I learned, because we were both at the state capitol a couple weeks ago. Yep. And I forgot who exactly said this, but it was one of the state representatives, I believe, that said, we count every letter. Emails, as we said, yep, off camera, emails are nice, but every letter that you write to your state representative, your congressman, they count as 200 because the ratio, he said, that somebody that will actually write something, they count that as 200 voters. Yes. So it's extremely important that if you're watching this, that you actually pick up a pen and write to your state representative or your congressman, because they need your letters to appropriate funds for this type of programs.
Yes. And this is terribly important. I think one of the reasons why we have gained more credibility as an organization, the Trails Council, is because we have upwards of 700 members now, which starts to get us to a point where we are being recognized as a legitimate force.
Really, the awareness of the East Coast Greenway is not out there. It is not.
No, but I mean, and it's interesting you mention that because, for many years, and many of you, the local people watching this show, know that we called our piece of this much larger trail the Farmington Valley Greenway.
Right.
Because it's all there was of it.
Right.
It didn't attach to anything. Most of the towns didn't even attach.
Yeah.
Up until just a few years ago.
Correct. It's actually coming together.
It is now aggregating.
Right.
And I guess the point, and one of the reasons why we don't use that designation anymore. We use here's the new guide.
Right.
We use the Farmington Canal Heritage Trail.
Right.
For instance.
Right. And that's what the piece between Yale University and Northampton will be called.
Correct.
Go for it.
The Farmington Canal Heritage Trail.
Correct. Okay.
And we did that because our brethren north of us and south of us, particularly south of us, are using that designation.
Right. Okay.
So we want to make sure, and again, politically, this makes more sense.
Right.
Towns like Plainville, which is a major problem right now, not for the least of which because the trains still run, are really working hard on getting a design study done and getting things done down there. And we want to show solidarity with them and help them to get things done.
Right.
So the money, there's one thing that your viewers can do, and that is they can write to their elected representatives at the State House and say, where's the money to do bicycle and pedestrian projects?
That's it. A couple paragraphs. That's all. But just
now you need a paragraph. A sentence.
Just.
Where's the money? I will tell you this. Connecticut in New England is the lowest per capita spender on bicycle and pedestrian projects, period, by a factor of many. They use less than 1% of the Transportation Enhancement Act money, which is the money you can use for pedestrian and bicycle types of projects, and it's pathetic.
Bruce, what do you see as the difference? And many of our viewers out there have heard the East Coast Greenway, they've heard the Farmington Valley Trails Council, they've heard the RTC, the National Rails to Trails Conservancy. And how do all these organizations work together, and who should be somebody out there if they have some money to support? What are they supporting, and what are the differences between these organizations?
I don't answer that question very much. It's funny. I'm glad you asked it, actually. The truth is that we are grassroots, our organization, along with our sister organizations at the local level. One of the things that grates us sometimes is that we actually are the people that help to get the things physically done. For instance, raising money to finish the Salmon Brook Bridge, which just happened, is a very local thing. It's a hands-on thing. The national organizations, the Rails to Trails Conservancy, in particular, and also the East Coast Greenway, they are national advocacy groups and education groups. And their purpose is to do just that. One of the things they do is they're able to raise enough money so that, in particular, the RTC has a full-time political action committee and a full-time person, lobbyist, on the floor in Washington, which we're never going to have. So I think those are the major differences, really, is a broader role of education regarding the reasons really why bicycle and pedestrian, in particular bike trails, multi-use bike trails is what we're thinking of doing mostly. What their benefits are to the nation. We get them built.
What is going on, like for example, in the Collinsville to Unionville section? And what other sections that are about to pop, so to speak?
Okay, well, there are two projects that I will talk about the Unionville Burlington section second,
Yep.
The first one that's really important is in fact our last gap to the Massachusetts line, which is 0.37 miles, a little over a third of a mile, 1,800 feet.
Yep.
In Suffield.
Okay.
It already went to bid last year. The bids came in too high for the town. So it went back to DOT, and DOT said, by the way, the reason it was so large is because they want 2 pre-constructed bridges put in.
Again, to support a train,
yes.
right?
Yeah, well, actually, in this case, not.
Okay.
But they're prefab bridges, and they're going over little brooks.
Right, right.
And they're enormously expensive.
Right.
That piece is critically important because Southwick, Massachusetts, has paved their piece all the way up past Lake Congamon, over 3 miles. In 2009, they will finish paving all the way through Southwick. Westfield has a design study that is completed, and they're looking for money. Westfield's very interesting because it's going to be one of the few elevated trails in New England through the center of Westfield.
Neat.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's pretty cool. It's also going to be very expensive.
Okay.
But so a lot of stuff's going on in Massachusetts over the line.
Right.
So DOT has come back with this massive budget for this tiny little piece. It's coming up on $750,000 for a third of a mile.
Okay.
Because of those bridges. So we are in a position where we've been pushing to make sure, and we think, I just met with the town
Right.
last week, we think we have enough money to complete this project. But yes, it's going to be the jewel of New England. I mean, and there are many trails that get more traffic.
Yep.
The Minuteman Trail.
Yep.
Through Concord and some of those towns,
Yep.
Gets an enormous amount of traffic, but it's 8 miles long.
Right, right, right.
So, we have a situation where we're going to have a lot of tourism, which we're already gearing up for, which is why we did that guide.
Right.
And, I think it's just going to be great for the community.
Okay. And then you were going to talk about the Collinsville to Unionville piece.
Yes. That piece, the town of Farmington and the town of Burlington did some surveying work and some engineering work
Yep.
in 2008 with the idea that they would try to get it done and try to find some money somewhere to do it. The good news is it doesn't need much engineering. It doesn't need any bridges. Most of the railroad ballast, if any of you have ridden on it, which you can on a mountain bike, is still there.
Yep.
So, it needs some culverts to run water away from Route 4.
Okay.
Toward the river.
Right.
But in general, it doesn't need much engineering. So it's a project that should not cost a lot of money. The shovel-ready projects that the governor has asked the towns to put in money for,
Yep.
both Burlington and Farmington have put in money to finish that trail in that program.
Great.
So keep your fingers crossed.
Okay.
And it could be as early as this fall that piece would be done.
Please make sure you look up who your state representatives are, your congressman, and please write to him or her as to funding for more trails, and that's how it's going to get done. And until next time, happy trails.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.